Welcome back to the United Pubcast for the first Friday night pint in what feels like an absolute age. Obviously, Manchester United hasn't been in action. Larry and my work schedule has been all over the place, and obviously the World Cup has sort of thrown a huge spanner in the works in terms of the football calendar. So it is good to sit down with a beverage on a Friday night, and we've got two regulars on the pubcast, Borche from the Football Capital and Rob from It's a Football Thing. Links are in the description below for both their channels. Go and have a look at what they're doing, especially around the World Cup, because there is no shortage of discussions there, and especially World Cup quarterfinals do start today. So I'll start with you, Rob, as you're wearing a red shirt next to me. Talk to me about your week, and obviously Friday night ahead of us in terms of World Cup quarterfinals start in 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, look, the week's gone quick, thankfully, because I've just been looking forward to obviously the weekend with. I think these fixtures for the quarterfinal are just honestly are so good to like. Some of them look like nearly finals, so obviously looking forward to it. I'll be getting up. They'll set it 10 to 2 tomorrow morning, and I hope it's some good action and maybe possibly some upsets will be nice as well.
Will be interesting to see in terms of that upsets and what is defined as an upset, because I'm sure we'll discuss Netherlands, Argentina in a little bit. But on that, Borche, in regards to Rob's just mentioned there, he's going to be setting the alarm for 10 to 2. There's obviously a big game at 6 o'clock. We've got England, France at 6 o'clock the next day as well. So I'm just talk to me about your sort of sleep routine, your schedule in regards to getting sort of your way through this World Cup.
I'll do my best. I'll doubt I'll get up at 2 o'clock. The phone will probably be on, watching me in bed of the game. So the game's probably going to be watching me. But it's some big games. The Netherlands, Argentina. Netherlands a little bit under the radar in my opinion so far. This tournament, no one's really been hyping them up or talking them up. And Argentina, of course, all eyes are going to be on them to try not just win this game but win the tournament. So. Yeah, definitely. If I don't catch the back end of it, 100%, like that game, and then the game after, which is Brazil, Croatia, that's going to be another big one. A lot of the Croatians are on my case because I predicted them not to get out of the group, and then I predicted them to lose against Japan. So they're going to be on my case if they beat Brazil. So it's going to be interesting, and I can't wait. It's been, to be honest, one of my favorite World Cups.
It has had that feeling in regards to there's been so much sort of controversy and sort of rightly and wrongly so at times in regards to some of the criticisms directed towards Qatar in terms of what was political and what was football. There's been so much attention towards it. And in terms of, I think when these things happen, Rob, it always it reminds you, and gladly and rightly reminds you, none of that means anything. Okay, let the politicians discuss that. Okay, we're football fans, and we sort of get dragged into it, and we sort of invest ourselves in these topics, but really, we're just there to watch football, and ultimately when the football does sort of deliver, even if it didn't deliver, we'd still enjoy it. But ultimately when it does deliver in this fashion, you can just sort of it's a stark reminder of why we love the game and we don't get caught up in all the other stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, and that's why the first couple of rounds of the World Cup, I was a little bit turned off at the start. It's like, what are we doing? Every time you're trying to watch a game, they're talking about something else. Just get on with the football, to be honest. And it's sad because you don't really see this in other sports. You rock up to the rugby league or something, there's none of this, but they choose football. Like, you're not going to see it in the Australian Open now in January. Everyone's having a fuss about something or protesting. It's pretty much a protest on our game. I understand everyone's views and all that sort of stuff, whether you choose to believe in whatever, but at the end of the day, we're in Qatar. And you have to go by their rules. It's like, you're not going to go in someone else's house and tell them how to do things, you know what I mean, or what to believe in and all that sort of stuff. So crack on with the football, and the football's been fantastic, man. The games, upsets, goals, the lot. Like we've seen it all. The Giants being knocked out, the underdogs going through, like that. To be honest, that Spain, Germany, Costa Rica, Japan, the group on the final day, it was just like this. I mean, what more could you ask for, to be honest?
We were in a group chat and we were messaging each other, and after every goal, after every incident, I was like, I don't know who's going through. I don't know what the next goal means. Didn't know what it meant. But we'll say good day to some people in the live chat. Jamie, good listener from Northern Ireland. Hope you're well, mate. I'm always watching videos back, but it's good to catch live. Do get your thoughts in, mate, but do appreciate that. Hope all is well. George over in Europe, so hopefully the time difference is a little bit better for him. Hope all is well. And obviously the George back here in Sydney. Got the trio tonight. And Emad as well from Man Cave United will be lining up in midfield with him on Sunday against the Arsenal supporters. All criticism towards Qatar were over the top and a lot completely unwarranted. Now, we're going to get back into World Cup sort of discussion in a little bit and obviously look ahead to the quarterfinals in a few hours' time. However, Manchester United has returned, Rob. It's an interesting one. It was 4-2 against Cadiz. I actually quite enjoyed sort of some parts of the game. Some parts I found disappointing. And then obviously you go on Twitter and it's Erik ten Hag out. Now, obviously that's sort of tongue in cheek, but that's how sort of social media does react. But ultimately, I saw enough in terms of short term from one or two players. I thought, okay, that's didn't take their chance, and some players did take their chance. So interesting to get other people's in the live chat their thoughts on that performance and who is ready to sort of step up in that League Cup match against Burnley. But it has crept up on us because ultimately now I have enjoyed the World Cup. I want the World Cup to continue. I'm looking forward to all these games. But now getting the sense of those Man United training photos. Now, okay, it's not the superstars there. A lot of it is the youth team. But you see those training photos. You see the red kid out there. You see Erik ten Hag, and you think, well, hang on. No, I want United back. And they're on the verge. Only a couple of days. They've played 2 or 3 days after the World Cup final in a competitive fixture. So just talk me through your sort of latest feelings seeing Man United back in action, so to speak.
Yeah, look, excited, man. Like I said, I tuned into the majority of the game yesterday morning. Like, again, it was good to see what, Eric's been training the boys, a bit of warm weather training over in Spain there, a few games. Look, I'm not going to go too much into the game. I was a little bit disappointed with some of the senior players for me that didn't really step up. Like your Aaron Wan-Bissaka, your Mengi, I did expect a little bit more from them. Dubravka, I think we'll be sending him back. When his loan's up, I think he'll be gone. But yeah, look, again, I think you mentioned it last night. What we're seeing from him, even on a preseason, he's someone I think that's really on the edge of he's going to be promoted up to the first team soon. I actually think he can do a job, especially if it is in the Carabao Cup game or something like that. So nice to see players like that. I didn't get to catch most of the second half, which was pretty much a full rotation, but I did see a lot of kids came on.
Well, Porche, on that sort of a title is around Jude Bellingham because I think every transfer window, but especially every Manchester United transfer window, there's a player, whether that be Wesley Sneijder or Anton Griezmann or Jadon Sancho or Frankie de Jong. There's always a player. Now, I think this January window is going to be Cody Gakpo. There's always this player where Man United fans are hell-bent. We have to get this player. If we get him, we're going to go win the league. If we don't get him, this transfer window is a failure. I think the next big transfer window is going to be Jude Bellingham. And rightly so. I think obviously he does look like he has it all. But I'm just thinking all the reliable reports, and Manchester United fans are hell-bent on getting Jude Bellingham, and I can understand and agree with that. But all the reliable reports suggest that's probably not going to happen. There's a few other clubs potentially a little bit ahead of us in regards to the race for Bellingham, and it does look like Liverpool are sort of leading that race now. If Liverpool don't make the Champions League, obviously that's going to throw an interesting spanner into it. But in regards to Jude Bellingham, I'm just thinking, are you hell-bent on he's the answer for Manchester United's midfield? We have to break the bank for him in terms of he's the only target we should be after, or there are alternatives, whether it be in the transfer market or Erik ten Hag already has in the squad?
Yeah, look, to be honest, with the whole Bellingham thing, I don't know. I haven't really seen much of him being linked to United or the rumors. Obviously, the rumors are going to circulate and United's name gets thrown into any sort of transfer, but I don't think he's going to move in January anyway. So if whoever's trying to chase him, unless they're going to sign him for the summer or for next season, the start of next season, if they're going in for him for that. But in terms of United, I think we don't really have a number 9. I know there's Anthony Martial, but his injuries, we can't really rely on them, to be honest, and there's really no one else. Maybe does Marcus Rashford step up to the plate? But still, you're going to need replacements. You're going to need someone to come in if he's injured, suspended, and all that sort of stuff. Illnesses these days. So I think our number 1 target needs to be a number 9. Obviously, Mr. CR37 is out of the picture. So we need someone else. And I think that's our number 1 target. You look at our midfield kind of now, and we do have options. Okay, maybe them options are not going to be long term in terms of Eriksen and Casemiro and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, maybe Jude Bellingham is a guy, but are you gonna spend 100 and whatever, 120 on him or whatever the price tag is, and to keep him on the bench? No, he's gonna have to start, which means someone has to sit out. You know what I mean? And we're pretty kind of stacked in the midfield at the moment with decent players. I mean, Eriksen has probably been one of our best players and best signings this season. Bruno, what we're seeing in the World Cup, hopefully he can kind of take that a bit of that form. I'm not saying that he was bad, but his decision making at United at times was a bit awful. So hopefully he can just fix up on that. And then Casemiro is Casemiro. Come on, he's carrying Brazil, helping them boys along. And who really sits out for Bellingham? I think it's a number 9, Tom, to be honest.
Yeah, no, look, it's hard. Definitely my priorities are at that end of the pitch now, but I do look, and it's hard in terms of the Bellingham and people's excitement in regards to transfers. You're right, he's not moving in January. I don't even think Cody Gakpo moves in January, to be honest. But in terms of you're looking towards the summer, Rob, and I'm just thinking in regards to Jude Bellingham, is there a difference? And look, I don't want to compare him to players like Paul Pogba was a world record transfer. We're not going to compare it to that. But would there be a difference? And forget what it means for future transfer business. Like if we have a £200 million budget and he takes up 90% of that, forget the budget side of things. I'm just thinking the player in terms of his development. If we sign Jude Bellingham for £50 million, is that a different Jude Bellingham if we sign him for £150 million? Like if we sign him for £150 million, is it almost, I don't want to say destined to fail, but kind of it's just too much. It's not worth it. It's going to put unwanted pressure on him. You should only really get him if you're getting for what he's worth, which would probably be, look, I'm not saying he's not worth over 100 million, but let's say I compare it to other players around the world, I'd be saying 70 or 80 million potentially. But in terms of, would you be spending what it takes to go get him, or do you think there is a limit?
I absolutely love this kid. I have, like I said, been bragging about him for a long, long, long time. I'm spewing with Mr. Boat on him when he was at Birmingham. We had the opportunity, as we always do with all these players. We passed up, or we probably didn't promise him enough football, and that's always why these players now are going to your Dortmunds and your Ajaxes, because they let the youth have a go, and then they let them shine, and they end up reaping the rewards. I think he got bought for like 20 million over there from Dortmund, and I'll guarantee he will not go for less than 120 million, because at 19 years old, he started, like I said, he's been one of the stars of the World Cups in the England midfield. He's a box-to-box midfielder who offers everything: assists, goals, tracks back. This guy is he's a complete midfielder, and he's English, so you're going to get the English tax again. And look, United should be in for him, but I just don't see him going. I don't see him going to Liverpool either, to be honest, even though Henderson looks like he's trying to do a number there and trying to bring him over. The only reason for that is I'm hoping at the moment Liverpool's trajectory is on the down, not going up. They've been peaking for 3, 4, 5 years. I am hoping that they don't turn it around too quick and maybe average it out, or maybe drop out of the top 4 for a year or something. I could see him going to something like a Real Madrid or a City, to be honest.
I think a lot of people are. We're sort of looking at Manchester City or especially Liverpool in regards to the reports. A lot of people do forget Real Madrid, so they're European champions, and they always get these sort of Galactico signs. And I think so much about football, sort of the way we consume it, is through the English Premier League. We forget about the Spanish giants and sort of potential 100%. Italian giants as well. But George here saying, sort of brings up a point I sometimes make. So while the price tag may be hefty for Bellingham, will force Casemiro, Bruno, Eriksen out of the side, has to be done. I always make the point that you look at the best teams, they always have quality on the bench. In regards to, that's unfortunate, but you do look at what Manchester City have. They've got 50, 60 million pound players on the bench ready to come on. I'm just thinking Australia. Manchester United doesn't have that sort of luxury at the moment in terms of our starting 11 is our best 11, and it's kind of it's a bit of a drop off. But on that point, Borche, Rob makes in regards to when we first were in for Bellingham, we maybe couldn't promise what he wanted, and Dortmund obviously did that. And I always make the point of you have to take your hats off to Borussia Dortmund in the way they stick by those young players and give them that platform. I welcome Jude Bellingham. Go get him for 100 million. I would absolutely love him. I'll get him on the back of the shirt. Absolutely love the kid. I think he's a great player. I hope, fingers crossed, he does not go to Liverpool. But let's say we're not in the race for Jude Bellingham, or not in the race. The benefits I would see, or the positive take I would see, if we do miss out on him, we're Manchester United. We need to sort of start. We're looking with Alejandro Garnacho at the moment. Okay, if he was at Real Madrid, we'll be signing him for 80 million. No, he's in our back pocket already in our youth system. I'm just thinking now. Everyone can see from the thumbnails, Zidane, Iqbal, and Kobbie Mainoo. I'm not saying they're the answer. I'm not going to say they're the next Jude Bellingham. But ultimately, if they were at Birmingham, they might be the player who goes to Dortmund. If Kobbie Mainoo got 2 years at Dortmund, or Garnacho got 2 years at Dortmund, what player would they develop into? I'm just thinking there must come a chance. Now, if the option is there to go get Bellingham and he wants to come to United, okay, you bring him in the front door, of course you do. But if not, there has to come a time, and if they're not good enough, they're not good enough, but you have to give them the chance of playing these young players. And the future Jude Bellingham might be Zidane, Iqbal, or a Kobbie Mainoo. And I'm just thinking, is that a risk you would be willing to take as Erik ten Hag in terms of blooding one of these youngsters, or do you think the position he's in, he does need a transfer, whether that be a Frankie de Jong or a Jude Bellingham? Just your thoughts on, would you be risking playing a young player?
I wouldn't risk him this season, but why not send him out on a loan to a team where he's going to get first team football?
100%.
You look at some of the teams the top teams in Europe, You know, you thought Borussia Dortmund is one of them teams that's at the top level. You're looking at some of the top teams in France, some of the top teams in Italy as well, where they do need players, and they will happily take someone. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know, maybe someone like him, and to start as well. And that's where you get your experience, and then you bring him in. I just think unless you're playing him in Premier League games, you wouldn't start him. But how many times this season have we been comfortable in a game in like 2, 3, 4 goals up where you can throw these players on? We don't have the luxury because we don't have the goal scorers, and that's where. And you put him on, and something goes wrong. We've seen it, Tom. Remember, Hannibal came on against Liverpool. Was it? In what last season when we got slapped up? Horrible ball to him, but he's the one that kind of it came off last, and he wasn't. United fans weren't really giving him the blame for that, but it was like, oh yeah, he came off the young player. The media is going to build it up, and do we really need that? Not really, but yeah, maybe a loan deal for someone like Iqbal and some of the other younger players that if that's what Ten Hag thinks the future is, if these players got it, then yeah, might as well send them on loan because they're not going to really get into the first team and get first team game time this season for sure.
Yeah, look, it's hard to see, especially in terms of when, look, I think we're maybe overreacting in regards to we're going to be so weak after the World Cup. Now, there might be 2 or 3 games we don't have Casemiro, and I think Eriksen will actually be back. Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, we might miss 1 or 2 games with them. So there isn't that sort of desperate need in terms of a short-term fix. But in regards to this League Cup game...
Who says they can't play?
No.
Because we look at the games leading up to the World Cup, the 3 games a week. Do you know what I mean? So,
I just think put yourself in Erik Ten Hag's shoes and Brazil.
Yeah.
Okay, if Brazil to win a World Cup, do you demand now? As a Manchester United fans, we probably have a right to demand Casemiro and Fred come back. But ultimately, if I'm a manager, if they win a World Cup, I'll probably say go have a week off, go celebrate because I think it's a special thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, that I understand 100%. But you look at the like I have a feeling that the players that are in the World Cup now, I think we've got a few. Is it 8, 9 players still in the
they'll be fitter than the boys training.
They'll be fitter than the boys because it just feels like it looks like we're coming to a preseason. It's like we're going back to Melbourne and we're going for a preseason tour, and it just feels like, and like you look at that first half of the friendly, it's like some of these players that it looks like they're on holidays.
Yeah,
so
hard.
And for the first time, it's like you were 4 weeks off or 3 weeks off, even 2. How long has it been? 2, 3 weeks off, and it's looked like guys haven't really kicked the ball or haven't really been together. So, I'll put all the World Cup players on. Maybe not the ones that end up winning it. So maybe Holland wins it because we only got Malacia from there, so he can take a day off. But yeah, I don't know. I think the boys will be ready to go. Especially the ones from the World Cup. I don't know how many more days you need off. Do you know what I mean?
There's been a good balance as well with some of the players like your Anthonys and your Rashfords. They haven't played 90 minutes every game, but they're still training. They've come on and got one. They've had a full game, then they've had a half a game or a cameo off the bench. So they're not killing themselves, but they're still at the peak of their powers, still getting good minutes, playing top tier World Cup football. And like I said, they're the players that I reckon will be like, even if they do go far, they'll be still fit enough, ready to go. It's not like your Casemiro's fair enough. He's been there every 90 minutes. Harry Maguire, he's not too bad because he's been playing 90 minutes and playing good.
You read my mind. I'm like, we're going to miss Harry. We're going to miss Harry.
At the moment, before this, he was on the bench anyway. So even if he goes up to the World Cup final and plays, I dare say, if Lissandro and Varane are ready to go, he's still going to be on the bench for them anyway.
Well, you're right, because look, it works out kind of both ways. If England win, then Varane comes back.
Yep.
Right. And then if Holland win, one of the Lissandro and Malacia come back, because they go out.
It's just Brazil, mate. They're the ones that are Anthony,
Casemiro, that's right. Casemiro and Fred. So, and Anthony wasn't really playing the last couple of games. It'll be interesting to see where Jadon Sancho's headspace is, because we know what happened, or we don't know what happened really. It's just gone off kind of social media and everything. And that's one thing with that, the last comment, I think George put it up about with the 70 million sitting on your bench. Look at you have that at Man United, 70 million or whatever Sancho cost, and you get criticized for whatever reason, and we're in this situation. So you do have still Sancho there to come in if Anthony's not there. So maybe we're going to need Brazil to take this one out. And Fred Casemiro that have maybe a couple days off, a week off or so, and then they're straight back into it. Why not? And Rob's right. Like some of our players, they're not really playing that full 90 minutes beside the Brazilian boys.
Yeah, no, the valid point. And Rob, you mentioned some names there, and the one you do mention, which sort of caught my eye, sort of my next topic is Marcus Rashford. We won't get into the England discussion. Should he be playing? Shouldn't he be playing? That's another thing. There's been a bit of trend now. I don't know where this comes from. Or I do know that obviously the PSG CEO or owner, or I think it was the CEO, has publicly spoken, but I don't know. It's interesting how it's come about because a Rashford story to PSG a couple of weeks ago, was off the back of if Marcus Rashford was on the bench, there'll be a story coming out. Marcus Rashford's ready to go to PSG, and you thought, okay, that's coming from Rashford's camp, right or wrong. Okay, that's where that story has come from. But this story is coming from PSG's owner or CEO, as I said, saying we have had contact with Marcus Rashford. He's technically in the last year of his contract, but obviously Manchester United hold the power to extend that deal. So PSG are within their right, well, not now, but in a couple of weeks' time, legally allowed to talk to him. So they are in contact with him, which they have confirmed. I'd say that's technically tapping up illegal, but obviously that's not how things have worked. But he's publicly spoken, said, yeah, we are keen on Marcus Rashford, and we'll see what happens. And I'm just thinking, a couple of months ago, I was saying that's coming from Rashford's camp, and now it's coming from PSG's camp. I'm just thinking, I don't know what relationship Rashford has with PSG. If he said, can you come out and do this, so I can tie up my new deal with Manchester United, I'm not sure. Or PSG do have a genuine interest, because the front three at PSG, while brilliant, it's so up in the air. Well, what could happen? Messi could be out the door, Mbappe could be out the door, Neymar might retire, who knows? Anything could happen with that front three. So I'm just thinking they will have to bring a replacement eventually. Could it be Marcus Rashford? So what do you make of the latest around Rashford and PSG?
Yeah, I believe in both. On both sides. I think definitely anyone's stupid, especially he said if he was to be a free at the moment without the extension, who wouldn't be jumping on someone like a Marcus Rashford? But yeah, and like I said, he's still got youth on his side, man. He's still very young, Marcus Rashford, and he can.
Does he have youth in terms of what his body's been through in regards to the amount of football and demands?
Well, true.
Do we think he's younger than he is?
I still think he's got plenty. I think he's got years and years and years. But like I said, it's a little bit like a Rooney, man. He started very, very young. He's got but like I said, you can nearly call him a senior player now.
That's what I mean. I completely right. You look how Rooney sort of potentially faded, and now Rashford's obviously a bit more of a, not to criticise Rooney, but I'd say he takes care of himself a little bit more professional. But ultimately, the toll his career has taken on his body so far. I hope it's not the case, but I could see a case in his early 30s he does do what Wayne Rooney did.
Yeah, and a possibility. And look, again, I do think as well this could be to wake up United. Like, I've seen straight away, Marcus Rashford needs to be tied down. I think it'll be crazy if we let him go, especially if it was on a free. I expect him to sign a big bumper deal again, especially like I said, the form he started this year. Why wouldn't, man? Everyone's going to. He's our main goal scorer, top goal scorer this year. I'm pretty sure from what Ten Hag said that he likes him. He's a fan of him. He stepped up under Ten Hag as well. So, look, PSG is not a bad backup to have if worst case scenario happened or the people turned or something didn't like with the contract, because there'll be money there. There'll be titles there. He's never won a title. So even if it is in France, there'll be Champions League football there. And I'm sure he'll be playing with one or two big names. Can you imagine Rashford and Mbappe together? I don't want to see it. But, yeah, like I said, Messi's he's getting older. They're talking about him in MSL or MLS, whatever it's called soon. Like I said, Neymar, who knows? He could retire if he wins the World Cup. Mbappe, you have to put a question mark on him too, even though he just signed a massive deal. United were linked to Mbappe about a month ago, so you just don't know. Real Madrid could come in for him again. Contracts mean nothing these days. Money talks, and players, we're all seeing how much power they have. So if something wants to happen, he's just got big money now. If he doesn't get his way, he could be out the door as well, man, especially if he wins the World Cup again.
No, definitely. George here is saying Rashford shouldn't be able to walk on a free, but 80 million is on the table. I'll take that every day. I'm so mixed on look, I hope Marcus Rashford stays and goes on to have a great career, but when you do start talking about big money and he's up and down Rashford, look, I don't want to accept the transfer fee at the moment, but if it's on the table, money talks. So just Borche, just on that, just your thoughts on the Rashford situation.
Yeah, 100%, like the money talks and all that. And I do believe, like Rob said, it's coming from both camps. It could be maybe to hurry up and tie him down to Man United, or maybe, like you said, a bit of a bumper deal, just to speed that process up. We always see it happen, but I look at even like 80 million. Someone comes in 80 million for Rashford. Now we all know the stories about the owners potentially selling the club or potentially selling parts of the club or whatever it might be. If you're going to go sell a club, yeah, and you want the maximum profit out of it, because remember, they haven't spent a penny. You want the maximum profit. You can't now be selling Rashford and getting rid of all these players and then, oh, here you go, $10 billion. You want Man United. Well, hold on a minute. You sold your best assets, and now you want me to come in and you want 10
I
billion.
think that's the thing, Marcus Rashford. Forget the football. We can discuss the football, but as a brand to Manchester United, we're talking about £80 million, £100 million to Manchester United. Look,
Yeah.
I'm not a financial expert. I'm guessing he's worth 200 or 300 million in terms of his brand.
Yeah, that's right. And like you start getting rid of these players, and this is where I worry and maybe not. I don't worry at the same time because I'm like, okay, if they're selling, are they going to go in the transfer window and buy players? And then on the other hand, I'm like, well, they have to maybe bring in players. So when they goes to sell the club, they can be like, yeah, you got this asset. You got, like, let's just, for example, Bellingham and Gakpo and all these rumored players, De Jong. Imagine that as a January transfer window. And then they go to sell and the buyer's going to look and be like, yeah, Bellingham, the best young player at the moment, most talked about. Gakpo, upcoming, maybe a prospect. And then you got De Jong with all this experience, plus the players that we already have there. He's 10 billion. It could work that way, or it could work the other way where it's like, no, actually we're looking to sell. We don't want to spend the club's money, not even our money, the club's money, you know what I mean? And it's one of them. So it's, I don't know with the whole situation, how do we really look at it? But if they do want to sell the club and they want maximum profit, I don't see them selling players right now. If I was the owners, I'll be like, you know what? He's only got 1 year left on his contract. Let them figure it out. Let's sell the club with these players and let them figure it out with the manager and all that. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. I haven't really read the articles on it, but I've seen all the headlines over the last couple of days that the board of directors at Old Trafford denied the Glazers' latest request to take dividends out in the last quarter. And look, I don't know the reasoning for that. Obviously, that's a good thing because they've been doing it so often. But I don't know the reasoning. Does that mean they're close to a sale? Does it not? I'm not sure. But there is obviously movement in regards to that ownership and people like Marcus Rashford and De Jong and Cody Gakpo and all Jude Bellingham, etc. All these things will tie into the decision makings before a sale does happen. Now, that is all the Manchester United talk. I think in regards to actually, there's just a thing here from Emad. Sorry, boys, I'm back. Had other things to attend to. No dramas, mate. Just all the Manchester United chat is out of the way. But actually, one thing, Rob, just I was talking to Larry today about Marcus Rashford. Number 10, David Beckham changed to number 7. We don't have a number 7. Is there a case? I didn't like when I liked Rashford getting a big number for when he went from 19 to number 10. He suits number 7 more than number 10, in my opinion. So could you see our next number 7 being a big money signing or someone in-house? And if it is in-house, that's a way of maybe tempting Marcus Rashford's new deal in terms of if he wanted to get over the line, you could be our new Manchester United number 7.
I definitely agree with the in-house swap number. I think someone in the club will inherit the number 7. Funny enough, I wouldn't say it'd be Rashford for some reason. I think Sancho's there, Anthony's there. You know, Garnacho one day could be there if we let it have a year or two to kind of put it on ice for a little bit instead of just giving it away again. Maybe after all this, someone really has to earn it again. But yeah, look, for me, that'd probably be my free. I'd say, especially Anthony, if Sancho gets into a bit of form after his return, after not the greatest start of a very up and down start of the season next year, he could be like, yep, okay, he was going to get it before Ronaldo came anyway. So I think, again, someone will inherit it, instead of someone bringing it in. But in my opinion, quickly, I think Gakpo comes through the door in January quickly.
You reckon? Yeah, look, I'm sure we'll discuss the Netherlands in 2 seconds in regards to that match with Argentina. But Borche, just saw Emad back in the chat, and I'll just sort of butter him up a little bit in regards. So I'll throw the next question to you before we touch on the World Cup. Rob mentions Garnacho and number 7. I'm just thinking, we had the discussion earlier about Mainu could potentially be the next Jude Bellingham, or Zidane Iqbal should be afforded that opportunity to be that next superstar. I'm just thinking, cast our minds back a few weeks ago, and that's Alejandro Garnacho coming through. I'm just saying, let's say Garnacho's at Dortmund doing what he's doing, or he's at Ajax doing what he's doing. What's Garnacho worth now? And look, he has to do it for a little bit longer, of course. But if we're seeing him do this at a PSV like a Cody Gakpo, it's great. He's our player now. We want to time down on a new contract. But what would he be worth in a transfer market?
You're probably looking at 50-60 mil.
What?
Easy.
More than that, bro. Easily.
Yeah, but minimum, because I try link it to, and you guys in what do you call it, in the transfer window I always spoke about like Edson Alvarez, but also Enzo Fernandez, sorry, which is in the World Cup playing for Argentina. Now he was at River Plate, and when we were kind of linked to him, not strong links, but I think he was on the list for Ten Hag. 16 million from River Plate, or could be even like 10 million because it's 16 million euros, whatever. Now the way he's been performing for Benfica and in the World Cup, what's he going to be worth? Around 60 maybe for someone to take him out of Benfica now?
But see, the opposite is he's been the youth system at Atletico Madrid. He's come to the biggest club in the world,
he hasn't put up the numbers or the performance.
No, he hasn't. But people pay this money for hope. For now, he could be a good player. He could have a ceiling.
Yeah, but we've seen performances from Enzo Fernandez in Portugal and when he was at River Plate, and now in the World Cup, where with Garnacho we haven't really seen that. If he was at Dortmund, we'd probably get more out of him because he gets the game time and more minutes and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know, 60, 70, I don't know.
Hopefully we don't find out. Hopefully we don't find out the transfer fee.
Again, and Rob's right. Mentions Real Madrid, you know, with the players that Camavinga and Tchouaméni dropped the cash on them. So in hope as well. So you never know what the market. And it's like, I feel like going into this transfer window and just, you look at, who do you need? Yeah, it's just, you look around, you're like, I don't know. Who do we need? Who do, like, everyone is just, it feels like it's just hard to find the player to buy. Where before it was like, get him. Now it's just like, just hard to pick. It's hard to find any players. Maybe
striker and a right back. That's it. We'll be in the market for a striker
was on
and a
the
right
list
back
as well for Ten Hag in the summer. So he's been doing all right in the World Cup. But number 7, if we go back on that, just give it to Jadon Sancho. And then when number 11 finally gets his contract ripped up, give the 11 to Anthony. His number.
100% agree.
I keep forgetting about number 11, but that is discussion for another day. George has been told to behave in the chat in regards to giving Casemiro the number 7. However, Brian Robson, I do like a weird number. The two numbers I don't mind a little bit of variation. Like fullbacks, I hate Victor Lindelof's number 2 at centre back. Those things, I'm very sort of protective of defenders and their numbers. I don't mind either a number 9 in midfield. I like watching Gavi for Spain in midfield. Wearing the number 9. I'm not opposed to Manchester United number 7 not being a winger. Obviously, Erik Cantona was a forward. Brian Robson was a central midfield. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not saying give it to Casemiro. Obviously not. But I don't hate shouts like that. But
not for me.
Definitely Casemiro over Fred. Who knows? McTominay needs a shorter. He needs a lower number. Might as well get rid of 39. Give it to Scott McTominay. But if you did enjoy a bit of Manchester United chat, please do leave a like on the video because it feels like an age since we have done that. But back into the swing of things now, Borche, in the World Cup. Obviously, Borche's channel, The Football Capital, the link is in the description below, and Rob as well from It's a Football Thing. Go check those out. But Borche, I was listening to you a little bit earlier, and I think you sort of echo a lot of, and I'm sure Rob has the same feelings as well. This Netherlands-Argentina match, we're all just saying, okay, Argentina, they're very likely to get through to the final or at least have a good tournament because of Lionel Messi and they're this big nation, and Netherlands haven't really been talked about. But in terms of Netherlands are plotting along quite nicely. Argentina have been up and down, not only up and down in the tournament, they've been up and down every 90 minutes. I'm just thinking, I think everyone in the back of their mind is kind of sort of quietly saying Netherlands are going to do this. So I'm just thinking, just your thoughts a couple of hours out before kickoff.
Yeah, if we look at the performances, you could say the Netherlands are the team, and like but on the flip side, like we're still waiting for Argentina to kick in the gear. And is this going to be the game where they do it? You know what I mean? Did they play in the last World Cup or the last time Holland were in the Netherlands?
No, Holland missed the last World Cup.
The last time they were in it, they got it was a semi-final, was it? Or I know they lost in penalties. Or was it the Euros or something? I don't know. But the last time, it can't be the Euros. What an idiot.
It couldn't be. Yeah, right.
But whenever they played in the World Cup the last time, I think the Netherlands went out on pens. So maybe they got something to prove here. Obviously, there's already beef with Di Maria and Van Gaal, so Van Gaal would want to stick one up him as well. But the Netherlands, they look a little bit more fluent. I didn't think there'll be. I wish United played like this under Van Gaal, but attacking football, you got a Daily Blind on one end, Dumfries on the other end, swinging crosses in, getting involved, assisting each other. Then you got Memphis there. You got just got such a good team, and it's like going under the radar where they could just go into this game and take care of business as usual as they've been doing. And then it's going to be a game against Brazil, possibly Brazil. And they could even do that. They could even do that. So I don't know. I think they're looking good. The Netherlands are looking good, man. And I think they could get a victory. Fingers crossed. Because I don't.
Fingers crossed.
Well,
Fingers crossed.
Rob, I know you want Argentina to go home. I know you're not a huge fan of the South American teams, but let's put our Manchester United hat on this. Lisandro Martinez hasn't been starting. Now, obviously, Argentina are through to this stage of the tournament, so their manager will play just sitting back and saying, I'm making the right decisions. Fair play to him, but he is a player who's sort of he's performing when he comes on, and he's not just performing, he's been crucial to sort of seeing Argentina through the tournament. Just thinking, does he start on the bench again today? And if so, you sort of does he walk back into Manchester United? Do you think he is a player who obviously he walks back into the team, but will he be back in time for the Burnley match in the League Cup, or do you think he gets some time off? Just your thoughts of Argentina ahead of this one.
Look, hard to read starting wise because it's been so up and down. He missed the first game, the second game he started. He played great that game and nearly got man of the match. He got dropped for the third game. Then they panicked. They bring him on. He had great. We all seen what he done against Australia once he came on again off the bench. So, look, if I had to put my money on it, he'd probably he starts from the bench if I had to put my money on it. But for me, again, that's just another. I really want Argentina to go home. Same with Brazil. Again, I'm very a big Euro snob, and I don't want the Argentinians or the Brazilians there. But yeah, look, he looks like the top person. He's one of Ten Hag's men as well. If he gets out tomorrow, I'd say maybe 1 or 2 days he'll be back on the plane. I don't know if he'll be ready for the Burnley game, but I just see him as like, okay, as soon as I'm ready, boss, I'll be there kind of thing. He's a leader. He loves the club as well, as we've already seen. For me, again, he hasn't been someone that's been busted his ass for 90 minutes per game. He's had cameos. He's played the game here and there. Very much like I said, what I was talking about Rashford before. So I don't think he's burnt out or anything like that. And I think if he's not injured, hopefully he'll be ready to go.
Yeah, he's definitely like someone like when Fred's got international duty, Fred charters his own flights to get back. So I could really see Lisandro Martinez doing that. Fingers crossed. He can look. I'm mixed. I still want Argentina to progress because I'd love a dream final with Lionel Messi, etc. But obviously, I do want Lisandro Martinez back home as soon as possible. So I'm mixed on this one. I can just sit back and just enjoy a good game. But Borche, in regards, we're talking about upsets and whether they've happened or they're pending to happen. Brazil and Croatia is the one that kicks off in a few hours. If there's going to be a big upset in this round, well, obviously got Morocco in there, which we'll touch on, but Brazil and Croatia is one in regards to Croatia plodding along nicely, but ultimately it's Brazil. So I'm just thinking, yes, there is a chance Croatia could do them. Obviously got a solid team, and sort of Brazil are a team that could potentially be got at if they're not on it. But are you predicting a potential upset here, or at the end of the day, Brazil, Croatia, the pressure will pay?
I think so, man. I think so. And Croatia, to be honest, I'll be real, I haven't really been impressed by them this tournament. I know they're kind of back end of a lot of their players, but in terms of performance, I'm not seeing much from Croatia all tournament. They're, to be honest, lucky maybe to get through the group stage because Belgium absolutely bottled it. I just don't see where the goals are coming from Croatia. I don't see it. There's no like real target man up front. They've had some of the chances that they've had and they've missed. Like, I don't know. You need to take your chances. And I think Brazil got a lot to play for. First, this week, the media coming after him for celebrating. Look, I said it on my pod. Whoever's complaining or whinging about these guys dancing can't bust the move themselves. Because if they turn once, they're going to pop out a hip, pop out a shoulder because they ain't got the moves. Yeah, let them dance. Do you remember back in the days, like the rowing celebrations? We had Tim Cahill with the boxing, like that corner. Let them celebrate. These guys might not be at another World Cup, not because Brazil's not good enough, but for injuries and all these. Like some of the best players have never been in a World Cup, right? Let alone to score a goal. But when Jesse Lingard bends one in against Tunisia, the last World Cup, he still did his celebration. But he's never going to play another World Cup game. Like he's never going to score another goal. These guys are love. Even Lewandowski scored a penalty in 98th minute.
So
he gave the fist pump and he's like, yeah, that's probably going to be my last goal. It's going to be for some of these players. It's their first and only goal.
I remember seeing the first Australia. Craig Goodwin put Australia 1-0 up against France, and you could almost see Craig Goodwin's face when he was wheeling away in celebration. He's going, I've scored. I know France are going to come back and win, but I'm going to celebrate anyway. I know I've lost this game, but you can almost see in his face, I'm just going to celebrate it now. Enjoy the moment while I can, because who knows what's going to happen.
And there you go, Tom. It's like Goodwin will probably, like, I know it was 1-0, right?
Yeah.
I know it was 1-0 when they scored, but some of these players, man, their countries won't even make the World Cup again, let alone themselves and scoring in it. So,
But
yeah,
Rob, there was a
man.
point here, Rob, that I was going to bring up. Sorry, Borche, I'll come back to you. But Rob, there's a point I was going to throw to you, and George has sort of kind of alluded to it here, saying every time Croatia have got out of the group, they at least made the semi-finals. Croatia underrated and just staying alive. And I was going to ask you, as you sort of follow international football very closely, and I sort of have a great recollection of sort of past tournaments and everything. I'm just thinking we sometimes forget Croatia made the final 4 years ago. I'm just thinking, do you remember Croatia's performances in the 2018 World Cup? Was it very similar, or were they standing out? Were they banging in goals?
They were standing out. They topped their group. I think they even beat Argentina 3-0 in the group stage as well. I think a few times in the knockouts they did go for 2 penalty shootouts. I think they came out on the better side of that. Obviously, they beat England in the semi-final, and then obviously lost to a very big friend. But yeah, it's not just that we can, for our oldies here, we can go back as 98. Third in the 98 World Cup. Again, like in numerous Euros, always hanging around the top end of the last runner-up at the last World Cup. And I always use Croatia as an example, as that's the only dig I kind of take at Australia. They're a country of like 3 million against a country of 30 million, and they've not only have they just semi-finals and finals, but you look through that team, especially the 2018 team, they got world-class players. Real Madrid here, Inter here, all over the top. But, compared to a country like us with 30 million players, and we're lucky if we have 1 or 2 players in the top division. So, look, Croatia are underrated, but I do agree with Borcha here. They haven't really impressed me a lot this World Cup, and it's been, I think, a little bit more luck on their side. Look, the penalty shootout was really good the other day. Again, Belgium were terrible, so they got through their group. They haven't. Again, it's the goal scorers, man. They're missing their man Zukic. He was a really big player for them up top.
He's the one.
Goal.
Yeah.
Perisic, again, he still always pops up and gets a goal or an assist or something. But look, if I'm going to be honest with my head on this one, I think Brazil wins 3-0, man. They're so stacked in every position. They got the attack. Casemiro has been one of the players of the tournament, man. Like, with him there, he just controls everything. And they've already got a good goalkeeper. They've got wing backs. They've got everything there. So with Casemiro letting the front 4 run a mark, I can't see this. It's rather going to be 3 or 4-0, or if Croatia play smart and pragmatic, I could see this going to penalties. It's going to be one or the other.
Yeah, this is what they did the last tournament too. They had a fantastic group stage, and then they were horrible in
they went for 2 penalties. I think they were actually 0 or draws, and they went all the way to 0
penalties, and then again in extra time against England as well. So they didn't even win in 90 minutes through the whole knockout stages. And I just think Brazil got more to play for, especially with the news of Pelé a couple of days ago about he's on that palliative care or whatever it's called. So he's
more to play for, but more to lose as well, man. They're under pressure. That's the only thing with them, because we've seen it before, man. Even 2014 World Cup as the host, they killed everyone. And
it feels different this time around. I don't know why.
I agree.
It's for some reason, I barely spoke to anyone about their World Cup predictions leading up to it. But then watching all different podcasts and stuff, everyone's on the Brazil train with. It's like, oh fuck! Everyone's actually
Brazil. I predicted
Brazil. Even me, even
Cup.
myself, it just feels something different about Brazil this time around. I don't know. Maybe it's Neymar's last tournament. Could be. I don't know. He's still young, but
why it was always Brazil for me, and everyone knows I love a superstition, a bit of a football story. I remember the last World Cup in Asia was 2002. Brazil won it. He's won with 2022. All the same numbers in Asia again.
The year before,
Brazil.
France won.
France won it as well. Yeah.
So that was my main reason for picking Brazil. But Borcha, I just got to hear for the next game. Ema brings up the point here. This in regards to we're talking about the Brazilians dancing and their celebrations. This is what the World Cup is all about, celebration of the beautiful game, as well as finding out who the world's best are. The team who I fell in love with this tournament, Borche, now I like Portugal. I've got a Portugal jersey. I'd love to see Bruno Fernandes and Diogo Dalot win it. I'd love to see, I know everyone's thoughts on him at the moment, but overall, I still love Cristiano Ronaldo to win the World Cup. But ultimately, I like Morocco. I like what Morocco have done. I've loved everything about the way they've played the game in terms of they're on the front foot. They're exciting to watch. They've got a professional sort of attitude towards them, and ultimately they're getting the results. So, I like Portugal. I'd like to see them go through. I'd love Morocco to go through because I think they have been ultimately the team of the tournament is the team who wins it. But if I'm picking a team of the tournament now, it's Morocco for me.
Yeah, you don't look nothing to lose. Morocco going into every game like it's their last, and just like them, this could be their last World Cup for who knows how long. They might not even qualify for the next few. You never know, right? So this could be that generation that maybe goes all the way, even to maybe a semi-final or something, or shocks everyone. For me, Japan were my favorite team in terms of performances. They just ain't got that player up front like they did back in the day, Shinji Kagawa and Endo and Honda and all them guys. I like how they play. It's so technical, and it kind of upsets me.
I think not to be stereotypical about the Japanese and the Asian teams, and not to throw that sort of label at them, but so many, and we watch and hear it with Australia, the Asian Champions League. If they had a striker, some of these Asian nations, if they had a killer up front, like obviously Erling Haaland, obviously every team would benefit from that, but they're a proper striker who was banging in 30 goals, 40 goals in Europe a season. I think a team like South Korea or Japan, in terms of the way they play football, would kill it at a tournament like this.
Yeah, it's just so weird. They don't really have number 9s that come out of that country. It's more a full like a midfield factory where it's just stacked with midfielders, world-class midfielders. They're just tiki-taka. It's almost like the Asian version of Spain. They just tiki-taka around you, and then it's just the quality with them. But yeah, look, man, Morocco could maybe do a bit of a shock Sunday morning.
What about Rob? Did you hold any hope for Morocco in regards to getting the job done?
As long as Argentina get knocked out and then Ronaldo sits on the bench for the whole tournament, I don't care if he gets a medal, and I don't care if Portugal win. As long as Messi's gone, if Ronaldo is to win it, let's hope he sits on the bench, because the streets will know that he actually didn't play anything. Just like the Euros, where he's claiming the trophy, where the streets know where you were on the bench, on the sideline, trying to make it about yourself.
Not salty, no salt there at all. But anyway,
hey, look, Ronaldo's not getting a Christmas card from me this year. All right, so he's in my bad books for a while. All right.
Oh no. Look, first of all, for me, as I've said before this tournament, I'd love to see a nation who hasn't won it win it. Netherlands, Portugal, for me. I think even Croatia, throw them in the mix. But regarding the Morocco game, look, if I had to put them up against anyone, I would have loved to have played Argentina, to be honest. I really think they could have knocked out Argentina. With Portugal, I actually think this is the end of the line for the World Cup for them, and I think they definitely get labelled the dark horses. They've definitely been one of the teams that everyone that jumped on. They've had the big crowds at the game. They've played decent football, not a lot of possession, but they've still been really good. The Chelsea people like Hakim Ziyech, he's come out of the end and played good. Hakimi's really stood up. I think one of their players is suspended. One of their big boys up front could be suspended for the game, which is a big loss. The way Portugal played last week against Switzerland, for me, that was nearly the performance of the World Cup. And again, I know he's upset me as well, but Ronaldo had to start on the bench like Ten Hag has done, and Portugal clicked, mate. They were free-flowing. Mate, Dallo over Cancelo was a big call again. Yeah. He's really up, man, not for just, for United and his country, man. He's been really good with goals and assists. The young guy comes off the bench and scores a hat-trick after, his second debut. And Bruno Fernandes again, mate. Like, for all the haters, you can't say nothing bad against him, because the whole tournament, he's really stepped up into that, another. I know Pepe is the captain while Ronaldo's not there, but Bruno Fernandes has really been one of the leaders of that team. So I think Portugal win this, especially after Morocco's had big night. They played the 120 minutes plus extra time. Portugal were out of second gear, by halftime it was 4-0, whatever it was. So I think Portugal win this with ease.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Ronaldo starts this one or he keeps it the same.
I think I'll be shocked if Ronaldo
starts. It's a different game, though. Look, I think it's the right decision to leave Ronaldo in terms of the way they played. And obviously you can't sort of drop a guy who scored 3 goals, but would a manager, again, I think it's the right decision to keep it as is, but would a manager see a different test in Morocco and a different way of playing and potentially cave? I'm not sure he will. But I wouldn't be shocked if Ronaldo starts.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. He could cave. Ronaldo's obviously thinking about himself and that record. I know he's trying to claim goals every now and then, but
I think he's more of an impact off the bench. Honestly, it makes. Yeah.
I think actually Quaver did. I wouldn't say did well, but he kind of looked not sharp, but it was his best performance in the World Cup, probably.
Yeah. Before that, he didn't have a shot on target in the last 2 games, man. For me, I think it's less pressure on him too. If he starts the match and he doesn't do nothing at 60th minute and he's done nothing,
it'll be a nightmare for a defender. It's 0-0 and your defender Ronaldo comes off the bench. I think it's a good weapon to have.
100%, man, for me. So, for me, he starts off the bench.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because it's not like it's first of all, it's Ronaldo, and you look at the opposition, and no disrespect to Morocco, they could cause an upset. They've been fantastic this tournament, but it's like you don't play him against this team.
Yeah.
And then here we go. He's gonna kick up a stink. And then when he does come on, is he how into the game is he gonna be? Because I don't know.
Well, it's something he hasn't had, which all players have had to, but he's in a unique situation he hasn't dealt with in his career, and obviously a challenging time for him. But Chris here, good to see you in the live chat, mate. Hope you are well. France are winning at Relax, so it's a nice segue into the last quarterfinal.
They're not getting past England.
I'm just thinking, Rob, you mentioned at the start in regards to these World Cup quarterfinals, some of them are semi-final quality, some are even finals quality. Borche, this England-France one. Now, we always sort of laugh at England, look at England's results. They've never been in a position to win a World Cup final in our lifetime. However, this is a game you could see at the start of the tournament being a World Cup final, England v France. Now, there's a very valid argument to say France are heavy favourites, but then you could also put a case forward saying England should be favourites for this match, depending on how you view football and how you view the form. But this is a big one, no matter what side of the fence anyone sits on. Just your thoughts of England-France.
I can't. It's hard to call, man. It's hard to
call. I have no idea what to think.
Usually when Australia get knocked out, like, I support England in the Euros and all that sort of stuff. So they're like my second or / first team. But then France, we kind of read them off a little bit. Well, I did because of a few injuries. And
I thought they were going to get knocked out of the group. I thought Denmark and Tunisia were going through.
Yeah, the voodoo, the curse was on for a bit after Goodwin scored. We thought, here we go. But that's the thing, man. It's hard to call because if you look at individual like the players, the England team kind of stack up, right, to the French side. But then it always goes back to the dugout and how is Southgate going to play this one. And I think, Rob, you guys mentioned it on your pod the other day. If he changes it up with the back three, does he put in Kyle Walker to try maybe stop Kylian Mbappe? Does that throw the whole momentum off now? And I don't know, does he start with, or if he does keep it the same, does he take off someone like Foden or Saka for Rashford who can get him behind, who can run off the defender's shoulder and maybe snatch a goal and then, I don't know, hold it if they can, which they haven't the last couple of tournaments. But could they hold it? But does Rashford start? It's got big decisions to be made, man. It's going to be, and it's hard to call because I'm kind of split. I'm like, I don't mind France winning it because Pogba's not there to lift the trophy. I've got a lot of agendas. A lot of people still in the naughty books.
But just on that, Borche, just on that, I'll direct that question which you asked Rob. I'll direct it to Rob, but just add this question as well, Rob, into it and answer it how you feel fit. But George here saying France will win the game comfortably 3-0. Every time Southgate comes up against a decent opposition, he's outclassed and loses. France also have the experience of being there and doing that too. I'm just thinking in regards to what Borche said, and just this in regards to Gareth Southgate, do we put too much emphasis on the manager with whenever England are going to be, whenever they fail, it's going to be Southgate. I think the players sometimes get a free pass with England in terms of if they don't perform or Southgate's tactics. I'm just thinking no matter if he plays 3 at the back or 4 at the back, the England players still have to perform. They can deal with 3 at the back, they can deal with 4. It's going to be up to them. So I'm just thinking, just your thoughts in regards to Southgate, because I know I was listening to you earlier saying if they do go to 3 at the back, they're going to lose. And if that is the case, well, we're going to look at Gareth Southgate to why did he change it? But I'm just thinking, do the players get a bit of a free ride for England? While there is huge pressure on them, in regards to if they do lose, they know it's not going to be their fault.
Yeah, look, I think he's the type of manager as well, as we've seen. He throws himself under the bus. If he makes the right call or the wrong call, he kind of puts his hand up and says, it's my fault. I made that call. Don't blame the players. He's always pretty protective of his players. But look, I actually think England's going to win this for some reason. And I'm Italian, so you can't say it's a bias thing because they're one of our kind of big rivals and stuff. But I agree with Borche. I think if you look at this on paper, I think England's been the better team as individuals with a bit more quality. I think even, if you're looking at performance over this World Cup, I still think as well England have probably just edged it. Obviously, that USA game was a bit of a dead rubber, but, USA weren't a terrible team either. And look, again, this is going to be for a few of the teams in the quarterfinal. This is going to be the biggest test. For Argentina, it's going to be a big test. For England and France, this is going to be a big test. Look, Kylian Mbappe for me, if they can do some kind of job on him, and I'm not saying man marketing, but just, trying to nullify him a little bit, I really think they do. If he kicks in the gear or he only needs a yard of pace and he's round you. The way he finishes, his pace is electric. But yeah, I just think that if they can do some kind of job on Mbappe, I really think that
I disagree a little bit, Rob. I kind of disagree a little bit because Mbappe, yes, he's got the quality. He's a little bit of a pace merchant, and he's a great finisher. But I think France's best player this tournament has been Griezmann. I don't know why. Maybe because
He's been good
And
in the number 10.
you stop the balls going. You got to stop the balls going to Mbappe before you stop Mbappe, right? I don't think Mbappe has been their best player. Yes, he's been getting the goals.
No, I never said the best player. I just clinical player.
I'm talking in general because everyone's kind of I understand why.
I had this conversation the other day, bro. I agree.
You need to stop that midfield. You need to stop Griezmann from not making them passes.
And I think England can. That's what I mean. I think that English midfield has been the better.
Who do they put on him though? Because we saw.
No, don't man mark him, bro. Don't man mark anyone, mate. They don't need to man mark. If they play their game, I told you. I think
it's interesting. You mentioned that, Rob. Sorry to interrupt you. You mentioned that. I'm thinking man marking, but then I'm also thinking, no, you're right in saying don't, because I look at it. Let's say it was PSG against Manchester City in the Champions League. Would Pep be man marking, or if it was Liverpool against PSG or Real Madrid against PSG? We're discussing the quality of Mbappe, but we're not talking about man marking Mbappe. Now I don't know if that's because they've got Neymar on the other wing and Lionel Messi. I'm not sure if that plays a part. But in club football, it's maybe once every 10 years you talk about man marking. In tournament football in a World Cup, pretty much we've got to stop this player, we've got to stop that player. I'm just thinking, there does come a time where it's just one player. Okay, as Borche says, can you stop the supply? Which is probably more important. If you do stop the supply at its source, it's far more beneficial because you're going to be higher up the pitch in the first place than letting the ball get to Mbappe. But Borche, I'll just bring this in here just as before we wrap up, because we're coming onto the hour, just on Mbappe. Emad here, Mbappe going to leave the defenders like Roadrunner leaves the Coyote for dead. Just on Mbappe, we just had a discussion in regards to, maybe been better players in the French squad than Mbappe. But ultimately, what he is doing, unfortunately, as you sort of brought up earlier, we do look at the unfortunate, sad situation around Pelé at the moment. But you look at what Mbappe is doing on the world stage at the World Cup. He scored a goal in the last World Cup final. He won the World Cup final. Here he's on the verge of being the player of the tournament, getting the golden ball. Who knows, France could end up winning the World Cup, and he's won 2 in a row. I'm just thinking, we do look at Ronaldo and Messi as greatest of all times. We do look at Erling Haaland as potentially going to be the best player in the world at the moment. Kylian Mbappe, forget his off-field dramas at PSG and everything. He's creating one hell of a legacy for such a young player.
Yeah, 100%. It's just it's all going to determine how him as a player takes it, because the attitude. Sometimes we look at it and be like, what's he really in this for? But yeah, the numbers are there. The stats are there for him. Can he take his game to the next level? Obviously, he needs to leave France. I think that's the next step. I mean, if you're for the money, then hang out and win titles and get your goals up. And if you want to be like someone like Ronaldo, who he loves the numbers and he wants more and more and more, which is good. You're hungry. Then you stay in the French league and you get your numbers. You get your hat tricks every now and then. You get your doubles and all that. Or do you go to Real Madrid and you build a legacy at Real Madrid or wherever, like another big European club where, do you know what I mean? And look, you say Real Madrid, but you look at their league and it's not not too far from the 2-horse race or 1-horse race there as well. So I don't know. I think he does need to move clubs. I mean, if he gets this back to back, I mean, what more can you say? And for him to maybe score or lead it, like you said, golden boot, player of the tournament. You can't see him not getting it unless they get knocked out early doors. But yeah, he's got a massive future ahead of him. He just needs the right people around him, on and off the pitch as well.
Probably doesn't. Well, that's the thing. But you do look at the information we do have at the moment. It probably looks like he doesn't have the right people around him in regards to some of the things you do see off the field. So it will be interesting to see how it plays out. But he may bring up a good point here. Ask Ollie for his game plan on Kylian Mbappe. Ollie did have a number of doing that, and George reminded us.
Wan-Bissaka.
It was Ashley Young. Plan. I think we always had good players, whether it was Ashley Young, Wan-Bissaka. I think Axel Tuanzebe did a job one day. I think it was always interesting.
Corners, mate. Get Ashley Young off corners, please.
But Ashley Young. Yeah, enough of that. It's too late on a Friday night. But speaking of the Friday night, in terms of the Friday night pint, and Chris, just a reminder as we do wrap up, it is almost Christmas time. The festive period is coming back in. Shout out to Rob's Christmas lights, and it's just a stark reminder because we did start this discussion, Rob, around Manchester United, and they played yesterday, but ultimately returning to action in a week or two's time. And ultimately, there's going to be a bit of a hangover after this World Cup. But in terms of the way we consume football as Man United fans and English Premier League fans, we're coming into the busy time of year. And it's going to be 10 times busy in terms of sort of fitting all these fixtures back in. So I'm just thinking, what are you feeling as a Man United fan heading into Christmas?
I'm excited, man. Excited the way we left off. I think yesterday was kind of like seeing that performance, I was like, geez, I missed the boys. Like, our first 11. I want to see them back. Competing for.
I miss the red shirt. I've been seeing all these international kits, which I like. But when I saw the players, honestly, yeah, that's the team I support.
Look, I've been wearing my red shirt all the time, mate. I'm twice a week on my pod, mate, because I said obviously Italy's not the World Cup, so this is my international shirt anyway. I'm following the red for the English boys and stuff like that. But look, I can't wait. It's kind of nice thinking after this World Cup as well. This is it's going to feel like an international break. World Cup finishes, bang, like a straight back into it. It's not like World Cup finishes. Oh, we've got 2 months to wait, preseason, all this stuff. That's the exciting part about it. And look, that's the only positive I always said about this World Cup for being in the middle here. It's crazy, but again, it's better. I prefer quality-wise that the players have had a pre-season. They've gone 10, 13 games into the season. Should be their peak part of the year. So you're going to get a quality World Cup. And then for those who are fit, they should be still high quality going straight back into the Premier League instead of, 65-plus games in a year, go into a World Cup. They're dead men by the time that they go on and see. Like they have their holiday and they come back. They have a short preseason, and the quality normally after a World Cup is normally pretty crap for the first couple of weeks. So I think we're going to be in a good situation. I just hope all the boys come back safely.
Yeah, I think with the World Cup being now, I don't mind it, to be honest. I reckon all these international breaks throughout the season. I reckon they just smack them before the Premier League seasons all kick off or somewhere.
It's always been a theory in regards, especially the qualifiers, have a qualifying season.
Campaign, put them all together. See you later. We have a bit of fun. The players get a little bit of preseason before preseason, and kick off with the season. It'll be I don't mind this little break, man. It's been all right. It's been all right.
Look, I'm sure it will give us plenty of what it does give us. It gives us a bit of a database and a bit of information for future discussions in regards to what works, what doesn't work. Because while things have worked in this World Cup, we will see follow-on effects that will say, "Hang on, no, it was the wrong thing to have it then." So there'll be interesting dynamics in the fallout of the World Cup, but it does provide a good discussion. And if you do enjoy that discussion, I thought we'll go on for about 25 minutes. Just saying it's gone over an hour. So thank you for everyone who has joined us. That time does go very, very quick. But as I said at the start, Robbie from It's a Football Thing and Borcho from the Football Capital, their links are in the description below. So you're holding your phone now, just scroll down, make sure you are subscribed to them. But any parting thought, lads, before we wrap up and sort of set those alarms, because the World Cup kicks off in an hour or two?
No, look, it was just thanks again for having us on. It was nice to see both of you, man, and talk a bit of United, mixed in with the World Cup. And like I said, we'll blink, and this time next week we'll be talking or reviewing the actual United game. So yeah, can't wait.
Looking at Manchester United, Burnley, not Portugal and Argentina. United, are we at Turf Moor?
Turf Moor, that's another one.
We're at home, aren't we, for that game? I think.
I don't know.
I think it's at home.
Play one of them stadiums. Might as well just stay in Qatar, play one of them stadiums. Aircon, the aircon stadiums. We love it, man, don't we? But look, I can't wait, man. I can't wait for not for the World Cup to finish, but all these games to come up as well, and then see who takes it out in the final. There, it's gonna be a tight one. It's gonna be an interesting one, and then obviously Premier League, we're straight back into it. Obviously, no, the cup is first, but then
I'm already thinking about Barcelona game already, man. I forgot
we had Barcelona.
We've won that Barcelona game. I've seen how Spain played this tournament, mate, and I'm not having any of that. We're gonna verse Barcelona with that Sangria, buddy, Solskjaer on the sideline. Mate, we got this, boys. We got this. Can't wait. I can't wait.
Well, Chris here with a good shout in regards to around the Women's World Cup. That is obviously on Australian soil next year, which will be interesting. Obviously, a few Manchester United players in terms of the women's setup will be out here. So I'm sure the Manchester United Supporters Club will hopefully maybe do one or two things. I'm sure everyone sort of in Sydney or wherever in Australia will get to as many games as possible. Definitely get out and support the game. But as I said, hopefully everyone did enjoy that. Please do leave a like on the video. I think Larry and I will probably be back after the England-France game, maybe immediately after the match, because obviously no matter what happens in that, England are going to go through and there's going to be massive celebrations, or they're going to crash out in dramatic style, and there's going to be huge talking points. So make sure you are subscribed. Larry and I will be live, about 8 a.m. Sunday morning. And on Sunday morning, the Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney are taking on a bunch of Arsenal supporters. So if you are in Sydney, we're playing down at 5 Sports Carrying Bar at 4 p.m. kickoff. I've got my Arsenal versus Man United sort of Roy Keane, Vieira sort of YouTube compilations on standby to watch on Sunday morning to fire myself up. But if you are in sort of need for a bit of a laugh at watching us sort of try and play football again, please do come down and support. We're raising money for Special Olympics Australia, which is always a good cause. But Pleasure to the two lads joining me as always. Really enjoyed that, and everyone in the live chat has been a pleasure. And we'll chat to you Sunday morning after the dramatic finish of England v France. Cheers, lads.
Easy.
Ciao.